Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Hello, I'm Cameron Walsh, and this is Race Spot TV. We are going to be bringing you the Skip Barber 2K World Cup live from Lime Rock Park. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Qualifying just getting done. They're going to start griding up in a couple of minutes, and we'll be back with all the good action from the 2K series in just a few moments' time. Don't go anywhere. Will start in 12th, Arion Zafaita. He'll be starting in 13th, Behemoth Nidus. 14th, Justin Tipton in 15th position. Looking to get underway here. Enzo Canta will be starting from the pit lane, so it will go to Philippe Lebert. Now, right as soon as we get this underway here, the rest of the cars pulling onto the grid, we'll bring in Will and Jack as we get underway here. But the scrabble into corner number 1 is as treacherous as always. It's sort of a hairpin. It's a weird left cambered corner. As the engine revs go up and Philippe Lebert solo on the front row will be leading them all into that very corner number 1 hairpin. It's called Big Bend for a reason. We'll see. You got a slot into the inside very early. Almost looked like that. It almost looks processional. Only one car stuck on the outside as they go into corner number 1 for the first time. Philippe Lebert leads them through. We'll bring in Will Fisher, and Will, seems to me like everybody got a very good clean start. These guys won a good clean race.
Hey Cam, yeah, thank you. Great to be here. You know, it's always tough at the beginning of these. It's such a tight thing. We got a lot of cars. Great up front at the beginning. Looks like a little tight as we go through the single left-hander in this course, but coming up to the uphills, clean so far. Great stuff.
Yeah, on the uphill here, you'll actually see the suspension get light. These cars don't catch air like some of the larger vehicles, but they do get light and a little squirrely as the field runs their way through the uphill, some of them going side by side. Neil Bogdams, the 101 car will be having, we do have a car going around. We figured we would have one, and it is Paul Malokis, the number 4 car. He is going to find himself well in the back. And we're going to bring in now Jack Styles. Jack, not the day you would want to start, as a couple of other cars have had incidents, including Pascal Vanderhelick and Casey Black.
Yeah, we're just seeing some incidents towards the back of this field at the start. Obviously a bit hectic here at Lime Rock, not a very long circuit, just over 1 mile. So it's good to see these guys. A lot of these guys are off cleanly. Obviously, some of the people in this series, the likes of Philippe Lebauer, Tuan Tran, they are regulars to the 2K World Cup. But also we have almost motorsport royalty racing here today. I'm just going to point out towards the back of the field, currently sitting in 29th position, is Benny Simerson, younger brother to the late Alan Simerson, which anyone who follows sports cars, he is one of the best sports car drivers ever seen on the circuit. But going back towards the front of the field, Philippe Lebauer is currently leading from Tuan Tran in the 777. Lebauer is going to get slightly sideways coming through that corner, so that is a good move by him, keeping that car in power. So Johnny Gwindy going to look down the inside of Bastien Huisman for 3rd position. Top 4 going to be running within about a second of each other, so that is good racing from these guys. We're all going to move to the inside trying to get the draft. We're seeing lots of single lines so far, side by side coming down the main straight.
Yeah, they're almost the under braking as Philippe Lebauer gets a boot right in his rear wing. Good morning. As they actually managed to catch it all back up. Tuan Tran, though, he managed to sort himself out. Johnny Gwindy, one of the Nissan drivers, actually finds himself in 3rd position. This is a star-studded field, not only for sim racing, but actual motor racing as well, and that just goes to show just the pole of the 2K Skip Barber World Cup Series. But Philippe Lebauer is able to cover himself as they are working their way up towards the uphill. They'll make it, as everyone seems to be favoring just a little bit of the left side of that exit where there's just a bit touch of grass. Disaster could abound any lap, but you know what? Will these laps go by quick? And I mean, we're hitting below 1 minute laps in a 2K car, and that is impressive. And you know what's even more impressive? These guys are running this close to each other, and actually half of this field is going off the track on the final corner as they work their way down towards 1.
This track is an absolute bull ring. There's no other way to describe it. There's such a motivation to run a little wide on that final corner, so we got to keep an eye on that. They're going to throw dirt onto the track. You can also get a little loose when you run wide there trying to get a run. It's funny you mentioned Benny. It's interesting. You know, he might be motorsports royalty, but he's also an expert in these cars. So, you know, even though he's you know, maybe a little bit new, but we got to keep an eye out for him starting from the back.
Well, unfortunately, he has actually had an incident, and that will claim the 222. Benny Simonson, whom I know he normally would race us up front in this 2K World Cup Series. I haven't necessarily seen, or as many as I should, but either way, he came to the inside of Rob Adams. It was just a little bit of a touch going to the uphill, but it was just enough to put him into the tire barrier. Unfortunately, Benny Simonson's day is going to be done, but meanwhile, Philippe Lebauer comfortably in the lead, Jack, and he has got Tuan Tran looking on his outside, but the outside of Lime Rock Park going into Big Bend, that first corner, it's not what you want to do just because of how the cameraing works.
Yeah, definitely. The camber is going to be quite important here. We're going to see side by side with Tom Ward in the 224, and I believe that's Greg Seitz in the 74. This is very close racing here. It looks like there's just going to be, these guys are definitely getting close to each other. We've got almost like a train forming towards the front of this field, Cam, and that's something which we quite often see with the Skip Barbers in anything, especially in the 2K World Cup, because there are so many of them. 34 cars here today out on the circuit of Lime Rock Park, and on a track this short, you're always going to get trains of cars.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is actually a bit of a light field personally, but they will be coming up on the rear of Rob Adams pretty soon. Rob Adams looking to potentially go a lap down. He's the number 99 car, and he will politely pull off. That is sportsmanship at its finest. He lets the entirety of the front crew go on into the inside, and he'll actually pull right off the track. I mean, they are using the entire track surface. Tuan Tran on attack on the outside. Johnny Gwindy trying to come out of nowhere to the inside, but no, it was not there, and Tuan Tran will be staying in second position. Lebauer will be staying in first. So your top 5 as it stands is Lebauer, Tuan Tran, Johnny Gwindy, Bastien Huisman, and Andrew Picario. These guys are running fairly hard, and Tom Ward, this pack back here, this 224 car with Tom Ward, he's trying, Will, to work his way through. He makes a couple of crazy moves. Those lime green rims always seem to be carrying that 224 into all sorts of action, but he's got to get past David Jimenez if he's going to look to catch back up to this front group.
Well, I've said this before, but Tom Ward really loves to win, and you know, I got to be careful here because I jinxed Benny as soon as I started talking about him going through the field. But we've been watching Tom Ward, and this guy, you know, he'll go anywhere and do anything to make a pass. I saw him last time on the straight go 4 wide. He's probably going to try to make another pass here and keep moving up the field. but he kind of slid it through the grass sideways into turn 1, and he just really loves to move forward, so we'll keep an eye on him, and hopefully I don't curse him the same way I did Benny.
Yeah, and Barry Arens, he'll be another car that is severely damaged and needed to go into pit lane, the 116. So we're getting a couple of cars straggling through with damage and unlucky maneuvering, but either way, it, for the most part, has been clean here at Lime Rock Park, which is not something that we normally say. Perhaps we can change that, as we've got 44 laps on the docket here, and we're only on lap number 7. Rafael Marquez and that 255 holding off Francois Bouillon and Kane Halliburton, as well as Nick Watson and Neil Bontemps are looking on as they go up the uphill one more time. And Jack, just that how they're taking this uphill, they're taking it so wide. Now, obviously, I was never proficient in the 2K in the Skip Barber car. I never clicked with me, but how these guys are able to throw the mechanical grip and just barely touch the outside grass as they're going up the uphill is very impressive.
What you'll find is the people who are driving here today in the 2K World Cup are people who know this car better than anyone, and that is definitely shown by the fact that we have a line of, I'd say, 7 UK&I drivers, all people who we see in the UK&I Skip Barber series, obviously broadcast on Monday nights on Racesport TV. So these guys know their car know the car very well, which is great to see, and it's great to see them all come to somewhere, which is so exciting.
And the 198 car, David Pena Jimenez, I said he's going to have to get around him. Well, he opened the door quite literally, Tom Ward did. He went to the inside of corner number 1, and he found himself that position rather forcefully. But now Tom Ward, he is ahead of Greg Seitz and Ariel Zafreita. He's finding himself moving through the field here as he started in 13th. He's up to 11th, but you know what? He's still on this main group as they are going into corner number 1, looking at the leader as they go in. Tuan Tron, Johnny Gawindi. Gawindi has been trying, Will, for the last couple of laps to get the over-under on Tuan Tron, and I'm just worried at some point those wheels aren't going to make contact.
Well, it's so tough through 1, and Tuan is getting a big run on Philippe, and Philippe's covering the inside, right? So Tuan has to go outside, and it looks to Johnny like the door is open, but then Johnny tries to go in, and the door closes really quickly, and that's going to happen over and over and over and over here all day long. So these guys really have to, be so close and so on the line and so on the knife edge, and it's going to be like that. So you're absolutely right. Any second could turn into disaster, but fortunately these guys are the best of the best. Johnny's a personal friend of mine as well, and I think, if anyone can do it, he can.
Yeah, of course, I recall he was racing in the 24 Hours of Dubai not that long ago. Actually, that was quite a while ago. That was in January, and it's now in September. But either way, looking through this front field, they're still going through it. I see Bastian Heisman and Johnny Gawindi. He is going side by side as Heisman is trying to make the outside work, but you see how it fades away and how Andrew Picario in that 168 was just able to catch right on up. Corner number 1 is very deceptive, Jack, and I think that pretty much every single iRacer knows this track like the back of their hand, as well as the Okayama circuit over in Japan. But everyone gets Lime Rock Park, everyone runs Lime Rock Park, and it's very deceptive going into that turn 1.
Turn 1 is definitely a difficult circuit. This circuit is really hard because, okay, we've only got 8 circuits or 8 corners to learn as iRacers, but every single corner is different. Every single corner has a different characteristic. You've got the high curves as well to deal with here at Lime Rock Park. They definitely do throw up, especially in the Skip Barbers where they are so susceptible to bumps and lumps and they can get thrown off very easily. That final turn you can almost take flat, but not really, and turn 1, 2, 3 and 4, that short complex is definitely going to be close. But the lead, we're going to look at towards the lead. Philippe Lebert, Mr. 2K World Cup, and Tuan Tran in the 777. Those two are going to try and go side by side through 1 and 2, just not going to make it happen. Tuan is going to stay just behind, looking for a moment to get past Philippe Lebert. Johnny Gawindi has dropped a little bit further back into the clutches of Bastien Huisman and Andrew Picario. Carl Tronke and Brian Duell are just holding there. Greg Seitz is going to hold the next, or be leading the next group from Ariane de Freitas, but Ariane de Freitas is going to be looking up the inside coming up towards the hill.
Yeah, and Justin Tipton had an incident. He was going into corner number 1 and ended up Diego Francisco finding the rear bumper of Tipton, as that will spin him way back in through the field. That number 5 car, I actually believe that's going to be a retirement. It is. So that was your 11th place runner out just like that. But meanwhile, as these two cars, they're actually pulling away. Leber and Tron is, we're going to leave them just for a little bit because I'm almost wondering here when De Vrijten is going to make his move. He has, Will, that number 1 on his car for a very specific reason, and that's because not only is he obviously number 1 being the fastest, but he, quite frankly, is one of the fastest in the entirety of the 2K Skip Barber series, and I'm surprised to see him starting so far low in the grid. I guess maybe perhaps he just didn't get a good lap, but between Arion De Vrijten and Tom Ward, I'm going to be quite worried if I'm Greg Seitz or Brian Dwell, because those two guys, if they start working together, they're going to catch him quick.
No doubt that Arjan is one of the best drivers in the Skip. He's one of the best drivers on this service, and he's got a 2K World Cup championship to his name. He's the defending champion, as you say. He's the number 1. I was going to mention that I don't know why he started P13. It's hard to say if he screwed up his lap, or like you said, everybody knows Lime Rock like the back of their hand, so maybe he's just not as far ahead as everybody else. But he's certainly been pushing through. He's moving up a little bit. He's in a tight battle here with Tom and Greg. They went side by side up through their uphill last time, and I feel like these three, Tom Ward, Greg Seitz, and Arjen, are going to have a tight battle throughout. I think they are going to try to close this gap, though. If they're smart, they're all real smart racers. Maybe if they work together, they might close up on the leaders before the fuel takes into account.
Yeah, and fuel will come into account. They will need to come into pit lane and get fuel. No tires. Obviously, that is a load of work for absolutely no benefit. These are spec DOT tires, basically, I believe, just high-quality road tires. But these cars, they'll just get the fuel in the tip, and they will end up getting themselves away. Will, I believe you actually know what they are.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're like you said, they're a DOT legal tire. One of the things that, people talk about new tires, and a lot of series in iRacing, you're going to have to take tires. I've done some 3-4 hour Skippy races, and these tires just last forever and ever and ever. So you're never going to see these guys changing tires in this series. It's a quick splash and go in the fuel, but the fuel is so slow filling that managing fuel is one of the huge factors to this series.
It's really just a guy unscrewing the cap and pouring it in with like what you would normally see as far as like a VP race fuel jug. But either way, though, your lead staying pretty consistent. Philippe Leber having a pretty good handle on it. They go up the uphill one more time for lap number 14. Tuan Tron closely in pursuit. And Johnny Guini has actually been able to close the gap quite a little bit here. But you know what? I want to see here what Tom Ward can do on Arion De Vrijten. So you know what? We're going to see if we can go on board with this number 224 car as they complete lap number 14. And they're starting their way to lap number 15. We'll go on board with Tom Ward and see what he can do in his Skip Barber car.
Guys are just so evenly matched.
Yeah, they absolutely are coming off of corner number 7. It's difficult to try to pick one. Actually, Arion De Vrijten, he's going to pick a little bit of a draft from Greg Seitz. He'll go to the outside as Tom Ward from way too far back is going to potentially look to find himself to the inside. He will not. He'll run out of momentum as that banking, actually, Arion De Vrijten just teetering on the banking between the flat spot and the actual banked surface. Greg Seitz, though, he covers well. And, meanwhile, I was going to say, just looking at the lap times, Arion De Vrijten had like 1/100th of a faster lap. I mean, it was not fast, that much faster at all, and he is all over the rear of Greg Seitz, who's putting in good lap times. Your leader lap times, as they stand, is a 57.3. So either way, it just goes to show you these guys, pretty much the entire crew is from first to, I could find all the way back to Kane Halliburton, is all within the same second here, Will, and that is just impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it's the nature, like you said, everybody's familiar with the track. It's such a small track. There's so few corners. And then once people you start to figure it out, and everyone's just so evenly matched, there's just nowhere to pass. The only really way to pass is to try to get a run into turn one, but if the guy covers, what do? You go on the outside and you're hung out. So that's really why we're seeing the procession here. Another reason is because it's so early, and we talked a little bit about fuel before. The pit window's going to open here, I think, around lap 19, so we're closing up on it, just a couple minutes away. It's going to stay open for 6 or 7 laps. But what we're really going to see is guys in the first half of this race conserve a little bit, and in the second half, that's really when things are going to open up.
Yeah, absolutely. That's when people start really, they're going off track right now. Wait till you see later in the race, folks. But either way, let's take a look through pretty much the entire field as everyone runs. As it looks to me like Bastian Heisman's going to at least try on the outside of Johnny Guindi one more time. Tuan Tron trying on the outside of Philippe Lebert going in one. I'm pretty sure they do this the entire time. Guindi actually makes a mistake here, and Heisman will run to the inside. That's actually a fairly big change because now it's 2 teammates chasing down the single car of Philippe Lebert if they get themselves through. But either way, nothing else changes up in the front group outside of that. So let's see if we can go through the most of the grid as we can, time bearing. But either way, Philippe Lebert, things are changing slightly because he has now got the 2 cars from the other team hunting him down as he goes up the uphill. Tuan Tron and Bastian Heisman are those drivers. Johnny Guindi is now relegated back to the 4th position. Andrew Precario, well, he's pretty comfortable back there in the 5th position. Brian Doell really hasn't been a factor in this race, but he's hanging on if anything happens. And if he has a good pit stop, he can certainly make the jump. As Carl Dronke, he's kind of on an island on his own in 7th position. You go back to Greg Sykes, Tom Ward, and Arion Zafraita. They are basically continuing their slugfest, but unfortunately, their lap times are faster, but they never seem to be actually gaining anything. But as that is your 8th, 9th, and 10th position, then you go all the way back down to Francois Bouillon as they are quite a ways away from the leader as he is getting chased down by Rafael Marquez. And then you've got another pairing, Mick Watson, Kane Halliburton. These 2 guys have been basically quiet all race long as they're working their way through the kind of the switchback here before you get to the hilltop. Diego Francisco, he's running 15th as Neil Bontemps, he's leading this next group. This is the next big group. Your 17th position's back as that 101 car is leading Fahim Altanatis, Chris Malcolm, and Enzo Canta, as well as Andrew S. Leach. Now, Enzo Canta, he qualified first with a 57.2, but he started from the pits, so he is currently worked his way up through the entirety of the field. All the calamities that has happened, he's worked himself up to 19th position, 18 seconds off if you're later. I'm sure the pit stop will be helping him. Then Andrew S. Leach covering him. Then you've got another gap. You've got Roman Kachka, you got Anthony Catt, Andreas Robertson, Rob Adams, Carlos Rodriguez-Martin, Paul Malokas, who had that incident early on, Pascal Van den Hoek, and then David Panas-Jimenez, who had an incident going into 1, and Casey Black, and that's pretty much the entire field. And you know what? If you look out of the rear of Casey Black, that number 65 car, I wouldn't be too surprised, Jack, if you see Philippe Lebert, because you know what? It's not that long of a track, 1.53 miles, and you know what? The leaders come quick.
Yeah, they certainly do here. It's not a very long circuit. Obviously, the 65 has got a little bit of front wing damage there for Casey Black. Philippe Lebert isn't that far behind. He's now going to be crossing the line. Just looking back from the front of his car, you see the train. They're going to go 3 wide down into turn number 1. No one's going to try and make a move. So Philippe Lebert going to hold the lead for one more time. We're approaching the halfway stage in this race cam, and we're definitely going to see people onto pit lane before long, and that is going to make this a little bit more exciting because it's going to be a case of who can get the faster pit stop, and also pit entry here is going to be challenging. We saw at Phillip Island just a couple of months ago where people were having accidents coming onto pit lane. That was costing them the race.
Yeah, pit entry is not a fun time. You're going downhill, down the gears, grass on both sides, ending in a concrete barrier. So it is not necessarily what I consider the most relaxing of pit entries, but as you can see it here, as they come off the downhill, it just shifts over to the right, and then it's a hard right, and then you got that tire barrier there. As the lead is kicking off here, Tuan Tron's finally got a run. I believe Bastian Heisman has been helping him out as they are looking to go 3 wide into corner number 1, and that has really botched the attempt. Now Tuan Tron has fallen back. Johnny Guindi is finding himself to the inside. All he has to do is push a little bit up. Bastian Heisman, they almost make contact. The wheels interlock, but for a moment, Ashton Heisman covers and Will. That's a pretty crazy exchange for really no difference of positions. But yeah, that pit entry is going to be dramatic, especially if, as you were saying, pretty much one goes in, they are all going to go in, so that could potentially pose a big problem.
Well, I was going to say I just had a heart attack going into one, and then we exited turn one in the exact same situation we were in before. So maybe these guys need to take a couple deep breaths before pit lane. I really think they're going to come in this time or next time by. This pit lane entry is tough when you're alone. Coming in from here, turning right, hitting on the brakes, getting back to the chicane, basically left to get in there without getting too loose is tough. And they're all going to come in together, it looks like, because they're pushing this to the end of the window. So if coming alone is tough, coming in a pack of four is absolutely insane. So let's see what we can do here, and not just these top four, but all the way through the back of the field. Everybody who comes in together is going to be in a tight thing. And I think coming out could be equally tight because we don't know, exactly how much fuel everybody's been saving. So this is about to get really dramatic.
I was going to say, I don't think Barber has been saving at all. Or maybe he has, and he's just been playing very good defense. I mean, this is sort of a track that you can do this on, but either way, though, Barber, this is also another interesting thing because of how the fuel increments. It doesn't have increments like you would normally expect. It jumps up at particular increments, so sometimes you go that one click too much, and you can go one click too little. But of course, you do have the option to manually stop it when you uncheck box in your little pit box. Basically, you wave your arm at the pit guy. The pit guy goes, "Oh, all right," puts the cap back on, and off your way you go as they go into turn one again. Much more tame this time, thankfully. But either way, Will, I mean, Brian DeWell, I will say, has closed on this group. And I wouldn't be too surprised if I don't see Barber and Gwindy come in on one lap and Twan and Heisman come in on another lap.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, like I said, I think the window closes on lap 25. We're on lap 24 here, so if they don't start this lap, then they're all going to push to the end. It's possible teammates are going to stick together here. I mean, we got 2 and 2 up front here, so that'll be interesting. I've been keeping an eye on Brian Dell, like you said. He's kind of notorious for this, hanging back, saving fuel, and jumping some people in pit lane.
Yeah, and pit lane, of course, with it being quite that dangerous place, will he be the first to come in? Oh, and actually, here comes Barber. Here it goes, just like that. He's left the entirety of the front group behind, and I was just about to say, whomever seems to come in first always gets the jump. Will Barber have the jump? He'll pull into pit lane, and he will find his stall. Excellent stop there. The fuel man will come out, and he'll put some of that racing fuel in that Skip Barber machine. A couple of other cars, Casey Black, Rafael Marquez coming in, and he will get his pit service, and he will pull away 13, 14, 15.1 seconds on my docket, and he's, of course, got one of the very front pit stalls, so he's going to come out in no traffic. He's got Rob Adams coming, who's already a lap behind, so he is going to be absolutely in the clear. No cars in front, no cars behind. Will, that is exactly what you want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was watching this, and I thought maybe Philippe ran out of fuel, or he used a little bit more fuel than everybody else. And that's why he stopped early, but maybe he's really smart because Twan, Bastian, Johnny, everybody else, they're pitting now, got stuck behind a lap car coming down through the uphill and coming around through No Name Corner, excuse me. So they all got held up a little bit that run. Let's see if PL can jump everybody, maybe get a second lead or so.
Yeah, Barber, he is going right past West Bend, corner number 6 right now, and he'll go through to corner number 7. Where will the leaders be coming out? Of course, they went one lap further, so there's one less lap that they're going to have to take for fuel. Twan gets out way ahead of Bastian's Heisman, and here comes Casey Black. No, they get the jump on Philippe Barber. I believe it is the other way around. That is not what he wanted to have. Their massive lead now for Twan Jack, and that is absolutely decisive. I was not expecting that. Johnny Gwindy's even ahead of Philippe Barber.
Yeah, Twan had a pit stop that was over 4 seconds shorter than Philippe Barber, which makes me think that the guys who pitted just after them could be short fueling to the end. Obviously, they only have to do 18 laps to get to the end. They'll have about a lap less fuel, but that's peculiar, Cam. I'm suspecting they haven't got enough fuel to get to the finish.
Well, I have to wonder. I mean, I thought it was going a little bit further. I mean, 15 seconds for just fuel, that's a boatload of fuel for one of these machines. I mean, it's not like they're chugging, V12 engine machines, though as exciting as that may be. They are not. Brian Dewell and Andrew Precario is now coming out of pit lane, and they will find themselves, even they have jumped Johnny Guindy and Philippe Lebert. So disaster for Philippe Lebert. And Will, this is for goodness sake a very big change. Tron though is finding himself stuck in actual literal lap traffic. Casey Black up ahead, a car that will not just be pulling over and yielding because this is quite real lap traffic now. But either way though, he still has a massive gap.
So the rest of this race, I think, is going to be fighting lap traffic for everybody. Again, it's just the nature of this short track. We'll see who can manage it better than everybody else. Not, this racing isn't just about pure speed, but it's all about racecraft. Racecraft involves lap traffic as well. Maybe Twan needs to kind of think about this. Where can he lift early and get a run on this lap traffic to get around him? The pit lane, I think it was really interesting. We talked a lot about how important the fuel is and how much saving fuel can help you through this race and how you can get a big jump in pit lane because the fuel fills so slow. Well, let's think about it. Philippe led the entire race. He was pushing hard the entire race. He was full throttle into turn 1 the entire race. Twan directly behind him was able to lift early into turn 1 every single time, and that adds up over 25 laps. The guys behind him lifted as well, but maybe not quite as much because they had a little bit of a stronger draft. But just that lifting, a couple seconds early for Twan every lap for 25 laps could equate to a pretty significant fuel savings. It's possibly short. We can't be sure one way or another. But I do think, lifting early into 1 over and over and over again is going to pay huge dividends for him, and it appears it may have so far.
Yeah, we're talking about right now, he's got a 1.3 second gap to his teammate, Bastian Heisman. He has got almost 5 seconds on Philippe Lebert. And Philippe Lebert, if he's not careful, he's going to have Tom Ward sniffing up to his rear if he doesn't get the lap times rolling. Last lap was a 15.7. He's slow because Andrew Precario and Brian Dewell is side by side up ahead. Brian Dewell has a bad exit of corner number 1. Philippe Lebert, though, can't capitalize on it, and Tom Ward is loving it. He ran a 57.4. Carl Dronke is coming into his own. He ran a 57.2, and he's fighting with the last season's champion. There goes Carl, actually. There we go. We've jinxed him. We managed to jinx one, Jack. That's not what we wanted to see.
No, just looking to have a look back at the accident. No contact between him and Ariane de Freitas and the number 1 car. Just lost it on his own car, just going over the curb. Actually, I say that there was contact between the two. Ariane just could not get out of the way of Carl Dronke in the number 10. So Ariane de Freitas, I believe he has probably picked up damage from that because that was quite a hard hit. He has lost his front wings. He is going to be struggling for front downforce. Not that it really will generate much downforce for these cars, but that is definitely not going to help him. The 74 already of Greg Seitz going to be able to make up big leaps on Ariane de Freitas. So de Freitas with that damage is going to be injured for the rest of this race. So and unlucky there for Carl Dronke.
Yeah, and actually, you can actually see in the very front of that machine, there's now a hole where the air is going to be inserting itself. That's obviously going to be reducing the front line speed, as we can see there. But for Arnold de Freitas, not the day he wants to have here. But for Philippe Lebert, also misery comes in pairs, it seems, because Lebert is also not having a good day. He's running faster laps than the cars in front of him, but he can't manage to get by. And Will, as the laps are ticking down, we've got 14 to go. It looks like Tron, he's got a completely open track in front of him. He's got a lap car behind him. He is very comfortable now with his pit call coming 1 lap after Philippe Lebert.
Well, so far so good. Let's see if he took enough. We're not going to know that until the end. It's going to be tight one way or another, I think. I think he's comfortable enough as is. The lap car behind him may be hurting him a little bit at this point because it's going to allow Bastian to draft up to him, but then if Bastian doesn't clear him quickly, it's going to help Twan. I think Twan is definitely in cruise mode here. He out-qualified Bastian. He out-qualified Johnny. He's got the pure pace. He's just got to put his head down and see what he can bring to the finish. I think a 2K Cup win would be absolutely massive for him. So his heart probably racing 160 beats per minute right now. Let's see if he can bring it home to the finish. Philippe obviously is frustrated, leading 25 laps and then kind of getting stuck. You just get mired on this course. There's just absolutely nowhere to go. He made, he got past Precario on that last lap, but Brian Dell is a whole other beast altogether. And unless he can get a good draft into turn 1 and kind of slingshot around Brian Dell, I think he's kind of in for maybe a top 5 at best here.
Yeah, and he actually slid right on up in the dirt. He went too wide in the dirt, and he actually lost a couple of miles an hour coming off of the exit there. But either way, though, for Andrew Picario, he was running pretty strong in 5th, lost 2 positions, Brian Dwell and Philippe Lebert, as we saw live here on Race Spot TV. And actually, Bastian Heisman here last couple of laps, his lap times have been quicker, and he is slowly reeling in Tuan Tron. Meanwhile, though, this the 74 car and the 1, of course, that's Ariel De Freitas and Greg Seitz. De Freitas, he's not going down without a fight, Jack. Even though he doesn't have the straight line speed, car is certainly still a car, and he can still put Greg Seitz on the defensive.
Yeah, De Freitas is just getting himself inserted inside behind the 74 of Greg Seitz. That just gives him that tiny advantage, which means that he's not losing as much straight line speed due to the massive gaping hole in the front of his car. But he's just got that another issue of he might not be able to get past. And Will, you just picked up on this as well. If he's going to do it, he's got to get it done under the brakes, but it's got to be a very late braking maneuver.
Well, it's a situation where the front wing on these cars, the cars rely so much on mechanical grip that the front wing is not necessarily going to make him slower in the corner. You know, he can kind of hang there in the corners, but on the front and going down the straight, the air just gets funneled in the completely wrong direction. It hits the tires dead on. It goes into that hole in the front. It's hitting him in the feet. It's a great air conditioner for him, but it's certainly not helping him. So he can kind of hang in the draft, going in a straight line, hang on to Seats' draft. But if he were to try to pull out, it would be like hitting a brick wall, unfortunately. So he's just kind of got to hang in there to the finish.
It'd almost be better if the front nose cone got ripped off too, like the whole thing. That would actually, because there'd be less to buffet it on. But either way, though, for Johnny Guindi in that 18 car, I have got to say, I believe, is Johnny also missing a front? No, he's not. As just a shadow of my eyeballs, whoopsie-doo. But Philippe Lebert, he wants some of this action. He's getting the draft from his teammate, and Johnny Guindi, he leaves the inside just a little wide, which pushes Brian Dwell out. So teammates working together, Jack, as they're working their way. Now, they've got quite a massive gap. They've only got 10 laps to do it. I don't think it's possible, but you know what? They still want to be as high up as they can. Johnny Guindi, though, in 3rd. Philippe Lebert is now in 4th. Gotta wonder how long our teammates going to work together, especially because Tuan Tron and Bastian Heisman, if anything happens between those two teammates, you know they're going to be fighting for the win as well.
Yeah, I think Philippe Lebert and Guindi are just going to work together. Obviously, we have only got 10 laps to go. That's only about 8 minutes, or not very long here. It's going to be less than 10 minutes. So these guys have really got to get their foot down. They have about a 3-second gap to make up to get back to Bastian Heisman, and then about 5 seconds up to Tuan Tran in the lead. Tuan is doing a brilliant job up at the front. He's done a sterling drive all race, going on to lap 35 now. So to see him up at the front for someone who I don't believe has ever won a race in the 2K World Cup, this could be his first race, and I think he will be delighted with that. But Johnny Guindi and Philippe Lebert will be working together to stop that happening.
Yeah, I don't think there's enough time. We've only got 9 to go, I believe, as Guindi and Lebert went side by side into corner number 1. So that tells you everything you need to know. These guys are going to be fighting for 3rd position. I don't think they're going to imagine anything happening to Tuan Tron or Bastian Heisman. They've gone around 35 times around the circuit. They're going to be able to finish the rest of this race without an issue. But Will, if you're Philippe Lebert, how bad do you want it over Johnny Guindi? How much do you put to risk? Because there's still, if you look, there's still 26 cars on the lead lap. One incident, you've gone from basically a podium to beyond dead last, basically, and obviously you're not going to want to do that, especially with a teammate, especially today. Not to hint to anything, but either way, Lebert go to the outside, but for a second it's a dummy. Doesn't work as Johnny Guindi, he pulls to the inside on corner number 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a tight, fine line to battle right there. I mean, they're teammates. You got to be careful. Everyone knows the number 1 rule in motorsports is don't take out your teammate. The one thing to consider, though, is Philippe is battling for the championship. He's very close to the top. I think he's in 4th in this championship so far. Guindi, while he can be a championship competitor, he's missed several rounds this season already. So I don't know if he's going for the championship. I don't know if there's team orders in play. I think these two don't fight each other too hard. They're certainly probably not going to wreck each other. They're too comfortable. They're too capable behind the wheel. So I think they'll be smart and respectful. We'll see at the end if Johnny kind of yields to his teammate. I think you're right, though, Cam. There's no way that they catch Tuan. In fact, I'm looking at the lap times now. Tuan is pulling away from Bastian. I think Tuan is just in a groove right now. I don't want to curse him. Tuan's a great guy. He's been around for a long time. He's going to really deserve this if he gets it. But let's hope he can bring it home.
Well, there's a certain amount of concentration and razor focus that you get when you've got a car covering both of your mirrors at the same time, and you got a car that you're sniffing up to the rear of and the blood in the water. There's a different kind of pressure that builds up when you're the leader of a race in the closing stages, and every single corner becomes the corner that you ruin your race on, and you ruin it, your win result. And it is absolute pressure. I have felt it myself. I have made that mistake myself, and I'm still kicking myself in the rear for it. But for Tuan, no, he is a seasoned expert at this series here, the 2K Skip Barber World Cup Series. I wouldn't imagine that he's the type to make that mistake, but either way, Bastian Heisman, he's there comfortably. But let's take a look at this battle here. Johnny Guindi and Philippe Lebert. I believe the gloves are starting to come off. Lebert, he is trying, Will, so hard to make the outside work, but he just can't do it.
This is where the battling is, right here. 4, 5, 6, 7. They're all right on top of each other. Tom Ward is pushing hard to be from that 7th to catch up to the 6th to be right there with this guy, and I think with these guys, and I think he will as they start to battle at the end. So much for team orders. I mean, these guys know what they're doing. They're going to fight hard, and I think Johnny wants this podium just as much as anybody does, clearly. But Philippe's in the catbird seat here. He's got to watch his rear view. He's got to watch the front. If he tries to go too wide in this corner, he's a little bit of a madman. He did it. He can trust his teammate. That's amazing, but it's only going to get more difficult from here.
He's got to swing real hard. He's got a wider arc to go, and that is going to ruin his speed. Look at the launch from Johnny Guindi. That number 18 car is going to clear him. That's going to lead Philippe Lebert to the dogs. Andrew Precario is going to come to the outside. Brian Duell goes into the middle as they're going 3 wide into corner number 1. That it can certainly not work, can it? As they're keeping it 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. They've worked themselves out into a straight line. Lebert, Duell, and Precario, and all that's happened from that action is Lebert's defended his position, and this has allowed the number 224, those lime green rims with that lime green and black helmet of Tom Ward, to catch right on up. He makes the decisive moves, Jack. He makes the attacks, and we'll see if he can change the outcome of this as Johnny Guindi says goodbye to this pack.
Johnny Guindi has gone off into the distance in 2K World Cup standards, but Philippe Lebert did an awesome job down into turn 1 to be able to hold that. He just had the right line, and even though he basically dropped 2 positions, he gained it back in, I don't know, half a second. So good driving there from Philippe Lebert. He's showing why he deserves to be Mr. 2K World Cup. But Johnny Guindi has just drove it off into the distance. No one's going to get close to him in the final 5 laps. We're now down into the final 5 laps of this race. Tuan Tran still going to lead, Bastian Hewson in 2nd, Johnny Guindi going to be sitting in 3rd. Car off on the inside there, I believe that's a back marker there, Cam. Yeah, it's just no one who's going to be fighting there. Greg Seitz and Ariane De Freitas just a bit further back as well, still going to be within about a second of each other. Same with David Pena Jimenez and Rafael Marquez, so these two are going to be fighting out for T10 and 11. There's battles going on all the way down through your field as expected in the 2K World Cup, Cam. There's too many, we can't keep up with them.
Yeah, basically, I mean, there's no surprise there, but the 2 teammates of the 198 of David Pena Jimenez and the 255 of Rafael Marquez, they're doing a good job. And actually, if you go further back, there's still battles, but you know what? Let's keep our eyes on this one up here. Closing stages, it'll be 4 to go this time by, or maybe it'll be 5 to go. Somebody will tell me. Either way, I'm not, why don't we make it 10 to go, 15 to go? Let's keep this thing a-rolling, but either way, there's a car off in the back. That's Carl Drunke, no worries there. But they're across the line, so it will be indeed 4 to go. Guindi, I thought that he would be gone, Will, but you know what? These last couple of laps, Lebert has managed to catch right on up, even though he has got the pressure on him.
There's no way you can ever count out Philippe. I was thinking the same thing. I said, you know, that's how easy it is to break it open on this track. Because it's such a single file racetrack, if the guys behind you start battling, you can just pull a gap, and that's what Guindi did. But Philippe is just on a mission here. He just refuses to lose. He wants that podium spot so bad. I think he really needs those points. This is an opportunity to gain points on Ariane, on Seitz, on Norbert, the guys in front of him in the championship. Tuan is behind him in the championship, so significantly so. So this is not the end of the world for Tuan to win, but Philippe needs to gather as many points as possible. So he's really pushing here. So much for Johnny getting away. Tom Ward and Andrew Precario going side by side a little bit farther back. Tom Ward pushing for a top 5 here as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and things kicking off almost too late, I'd have to say. Backmarker Casey Black, he'll get to the outside on corner number 1. That is the polite way to do it. He lets off the throttle. That's the 3 drivers fighting for position through, and Tom Ward is cycled past Andrew Picario for that 6th position going through corner number 1. So Tom Ward, perhaps, in closing the stages, he has found his way through at least one machine. The distance is going to be too great for the 2 laps that we have to go, but Jack, just it's been so far an absolutely sensational race here at Lime Rock Park, and we've still got this battle for position number 3 to be decided, but overall, last 40-some-odd laps have been absolutely fantastic.
We have had close and exciting racing all the way through these races. We always do with the 2K World Cup, and it is such an enjoyment and pleasure to commentate on it because there is so much action. But Philippe Laibert and Johnny Guindi, 2 teammates, they're still going to go side by side down into turn 1. Just 2 laps to go. You'd think he wouldn't be taking this risk, but obviously they would. They want the points. Philippe Laibert not going to have enough momentum to get round on the outside. Very hard line to take. Just going to get up on that high curve through turn number 2 and down towards turn number 3. So Philippe Laibert in the number 2 car going to sit in 4th. Guindi going to get sideways through 3. And just maybe saying that these tyres, they're saying that these tyres won't go off, as Will said, they last forever and ever. So maybe he's just losing a little bit of grip, a little bit too much speed and pushing that car too hard as they come up over the hill.
And this is going to be the start of the final lap here at Lime Rock Park. We've got 1 lap to go as Tuan in that number 777 will be comfortably taking that white flag. He has got a 2-second lead over Bastian Heisman and a 6-second lead over 3rd place. And 3rd place and 4th place is hustling and bustling their way through towards corner number 1. Laibert, will he finally make the outside work? No, the answer is going to be as Johnny Guindi closes the door. As long as he comes up just a little bit, he will cover. Brian Dowell is also there. Perhaps an interloper that could affect the outcome of this race. Dowell so very close. I think he actually gives a little bit of a bump to the number 2 car. Meanwhile, Tuan Tron comfortably going through the countryside of Connecticut as he works to find if he can come away with this one. He's taking it nice and safe, understandably. Guindi, he's going up the hilltop, though. One last time, Guindi, Laibert, Dowell. Will it be that order when they come across? Laibert is going to try the outside. No, he will not. Meanwhile, the number 777, Tuan Tron, in that purple and black 2K Skip Barber car will be coming across the start-finish line, and he will win here in the 2K World Cup as Bastian Heisman. He'll come home in 2nd. Guindi and Laibert at the line. It's a drag race. It will go to Johnny Guindi, and Brian Dowell will finish in 5th, and Tom Ward will finish in the 6th position. Absolutely sensational finishing here, Will.
Oh my gosh, it does not get any better than that. These guys, I can't believe how many times they're going to go side by side and just not have any incidents. It's amazing to watch. This is what 2K Cup is all about. But with that, let's not forget what had just happened up front here. Round of applause to Tuan. I think it's amazing what he did. He's been trying so hard. I think for years we called him an oval specialist. He got some poles at the Nordschleife a couple seasons ago, but he couldn't capitalize. I think he's going to pop the champagne tonight, and this is well deserved for Tuan. Congratulations.
Yeah, there's the Lime Rock Park, almost like a miniature Nordschleife, if you think about it. Going through the countryside, and any mistake you make is going to be the end of the race. Speaking of the end of the race, we're going to go through the Skip Barber 2K World Cup final results here from Lime Rock Park. Lakeville, Connecticut has been host here pretty much every season, and every season puts on a show as Tuan Tron that 777. He'll come home after 42 minutes and 40 seconds. Bastian Heisman will come home in the 2nd position. Johnny Guindi, he'll go from 5th to 3rd as Philippe Laibert, perhaps too much fuel, he'll finish in 4th. Brian Dowell come home's in the 5th position. Tom Ward goes from 12th to 6th. Andrew Picario, he started in 7th, finished in 7th. Much more to that story, though. Greg Seitz, he'll finish in 8th position. Ariel Zafraita will fight his way to 9th. Rafael Marquez, 23rd to 10th. Francois Bouillon will go from 20th to 11th. David Pana Jimenez will go from 8th to 12th. Not the day he wanted, but it was good hard fighting at Lime Rock. Mick Watson will finish in 13th. Enzo Canta from the pit lane will finish in 14th. A very impressive day from that 924. Diego Francisco will come home 15th. Andrew Leach will come home in 16th. Fahim Atnadas, not the day he wanted, he'll come home in 17th. Kane Halliburton will finish in the 18th position after starting 26th. The guy who started right in front of him will finish right behind him. Chris Malcolm, he started 25th. He'll finish 19th. Neil Bontemps will come home in 20th. Carlos Martin will come home 21st. Paul Malokis will come home 22nd. Anthony Cat, 23rd. Roman Kachka will come home 24th. Pascal Vandenhoek, 25th. Andreas Robertson, 26th position. Casey Black, 27th. Rob Adams, 28th. Car Dronke, 29th. Bill Frazier in 30th. Justin Tipton, 31st. Barry Arens, 32nd. Stefan Stoyles in the 33rd position. And Benny Simonson, the first retirement of the day, in 34th position. Either way, we're going to take a quick break here, and we're going to see if we can find anybody for interviews after this great run here at Lime Rock Park. You're watching Race Spot TV on iRacing Live. A wonderful race here at Lime Rock Park. Let's see if we can break it down the other side of this break. Stick with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Skip Barber 2K World Cup Series. It's the post-race show here on iRacing Live and Race Spot TV. 44 laps ticked away in 42 minutes, and we've got a winner at Swantron in the numbered 777 after starting in third. But either way, myself, Cam Walsh, Jack Stiles, Will Fisher, and Hugo Louis. And Will, we'll go to you first. It was a very, very hard race here at Lime Rock Park. Absolutely razor edge. It's basically, it looks nothing more different than a public road that's been laid in a circle. But either way, good racing here from Connecticut.
One of the oldest tracks in the United States, one of the best tracks in the United States. It's such a technical circuit. It demands so much from the driver. These guys just pushed everything to the limit for 44 laps. It was a blast to watch. You know, I think nobody could have expected anything else out of this. These guys were just going hard from the top. Like I said, so much congratulations to Tuan. Congratulations to Bastian for a P2. Gwindi, such a hard fight for a P3. Absolutely amazing. Philippe probably be a little disappointed with a P4 after leading for so much of the race, but you can't argue with points for that. Overall, I'm absolutely satisfied with what I saw this weekend. Great job by everybody.
Absolutely, and Jack, I mean, every time you look at the monitor, there's always something going on in this series, always action all the way throughout the field. I mean, all the way down to, I'm looking at 22nd, they were split by less than 0.3 of 1 second. I mean, it is just impressive every single time that the Skip Barber 2K World Cup Series comes together, and this tight track really put on a show.
I mean, I've said it before, the 2K World Cup is one of my favourite series to commentate on because there is so much action happening. Something is always happening and people are always having a good old scrap. And obviously the Skip Barber is one of these cars where you need the draft to be able to make passes, and you do get the trains form where we've had them in the past. We've had like 20 car trains, and it's just a brilliant racing to watch. And we saw that again here at Lime Rock Park, which is just amplified by that brilliant racing because of how short this circuit is.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's start getting some of these drivers in here. We'll start with Mr. 2K himself, Philippe Lebert. We'll get him in here and start the conversation. We'll see if maybe we can even wrangle up Twanchon from his celebrations and get him in here. But whilst we're waiting for that, Philippe Lebert. Well, Philippe, he started in second, he finished in fourth, but Lime Rock Park will always prove that that is not entirely the story. Philippe, you had a great first half, and then you had a not so great second half. Why don't you take me through it?
I think my pit crew fell asleep. I stopped at my pit box and nothing happened, and I waited and I waited and I waited, and then after 5 seconds they started fueling. So I'm gonna have a word with them because that's not acceptable.
It's not. You managed to come in when they were going to the bathroom or something like that, or maybe they were eating ice cream. But either way, yeah, not. We were kind of wondering perhaps if you had used that much fuel, but either way, it was about a 5-second difference. You were able to fight back. I mean, to fourth position, but either way, the second half you were basically stuck in traffic. You had to do a lot of fighting, and then you had your teammate Johnny Guindy up ahead, and it really goes to prove watching this battle just how hard it is to make a pass.
Yeah, it's kind of hard, especially when you have someone behind you when you're in the middle, because if you take the outside, then the guy behind will sneak up the inside, and so you have to cover the inside and try to make a pass around the outside at the same time, and that's almost impossible. If I would have been by myself just behind Johnny, it probably would have worked, but yeah, it was not meant to be.
Now, I have to ask the question because I can't find it with my quick fingers here on the browser, but whereabouts is the 2K Skip Barber series heading next time, Philippe?
We're going to VIR next time, Virginia International Raceway, and it's going to be a long race with 3 pit stops, so it's going to be...
an endurance race, basically.
Yeah. Yes, that's the second time we've done that, and the first time was pretty good, so we're doing that again.
Yeah, going to a couple of what would be considered the backcountry here in the east coast of the U.S. I mean, these tracks, Lime Rock Park, VIR, they're basically just pavement scrown onto a landscape, and that's called a racetrack. Certainly not how they build them in today's world, but either way, VIR, well, it's... We talk about a challenge here at Lime Rock Park. It's ever amplified in what was basically considered the green hell of the U.S.
Oh yeah, it's a wonderful track. We should do that more often, but people don't really like the track because it's so hard. But I'm glad we were revisiting the track again this season. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
And anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to or thanks before we let you go?
Yeah, I want to congratulate Twan for his first win. I think it's his first win. He might have won before on an oval, but on a road track, it's his first win. So an awesome job. He was extremely quick today, and he fully deserved it.
All right, Philippe Lebert, Mr. 2K Cup. Well, he started in second. He'll finish in fourth. But either way, thanks so much for hopping on with us, and we'll see you next time at VIR. So with that, we're going to move on to Ariel de Freitas and Johnny Guindy, but we'll start. Why don't we start with Ariel de Freitas with Jack Stiles. Jack, you're going to be standing by with Ariel de Freitas, who finished in the 9th position.
I'm down on pit lane for sure with Ariel de Freitas of the number 1 machine. So first of all, that's probably not the day you wanted. We're usually used to seeing you up at the front of this field. You've obviously finished just inside the top 10. You finished 9th, but just what went wrong for you today? Why weren't you up at the front at Lime Rock?
This track went wrong. No, in general, this track weirdly brings always out like really weird qualifying. I mean, there's like always surprises up there, and I screwed over both of my qualifying laps. To be honest, I had to slow down to not get a 1x out of the last corner, but it also compromised the next lap, obviously. So, yeah, then starting at 13th, I was kind of like trying to get the hang with Tom and Moment Craig, and it seemed Tom wanted to work together to close the gap, but Craig, it seemed he didn't. So we fought a bit. So figured I'd pit early. try and get a run on those guys this way, which in the end worked out pretty well because I jumped Greg. But then Carl, on the exit out of turn 4 or 5, I don't know which turn it is, but it's the right-hander after the left-hander. He went on the curbs and he lost it, spinning to the right where I was, so it broke my nose. So yeah, the last few laps I could barely hang in Greg's draft, so salvaged some points and that's it, I guess.
So this is almost a get what you can points wise and look forward to the next race. Obviously the next race we're heading to Virginia with the 2K World Cup, and it's going to be the endurance race. 3 pit stops are going to be needed to complete that race. That's going to be a case of keeping it in the long game and just getting the car to the end while also being fast. Just take us through what it's like, obviously going from the sprint race about 45-50 minutes up to a race which is going to be more or less 2 hours.
Yeah, it involves a bit more strategy in terms of fuel, but on the other hand, I mean, with all laps leading stuff and getting extra points for that, you might want to lead laps, but in general in those races you want to save fuel a bit. I mean, for example, Phillip Island, I had a jump start and could still do it with 2 pit stops, including the stop and go, with saving a lot of fuel. So it's going to be tricky. Virginia in general is a tricky track. Not a lot of people like really master the track, so there are some tricky braking zones there, but at least there's a lot of passing opportunities, so qualifying won't be as important as it is on a track like Lime Rock.
So then, Ariane, any sponsor shout-outs you want to give to? Who do you want to thank?
Yeah, thanks to my team, a new team, Evolution Racing Team, and my sponsors obviously, Logitech, JRT. So yeah, it's awesome. Good teammates, good fun. 2 new teammates driving the Skippy as well, so a shout out to them as well.
So then, ladies and gentlemen, that is your 9th place finisher, Ariane de Freitas, in the number 1 machine. Back to you, Cam.
Yes, and well, it looks like Tuan is just going to be enjoying his victory on his own, which we can't certainly fault him for. So once again, congratulations to him. Meanwhile, though, we've got Johnny Kawindi, teammate of Philippe Labert. Well, they had a drag race to the finish. Let's get Johnny in here. We had a drag race to the finish. And he beat Philippe Labert by a very scant number. It is a very small number, but either way, Will Fisher, you're going to be standing by with the pilot of that number 18 Skip Barber car of Johnny Kawindi.
Johnny, hey, my man, congratulations on P3. First of all, let me ask you, how do you feel about your result? Is that kind of what the range you thought you would be? Are you disappointed that you couldn't get a little higher up, or are you happy that you didn't fall farther down?
And before the race started, I think I would have been happy with 3rd place because this isn't a track I'm good at, and my qualifying wasn't particularly good. But in the race, I don't know. I felt pretty good. I felt I could maybe if I stayed together with Tuan and Bastien, maybe try to pass them in the second part of the race. But obviously that's a lot easier said than done at this track. But overall, I'm pretty happy. It's not a track that suits me, so overall, I'm okay with this.
What do you think happened? Why couldn't you hang? Why do you think you couldn't hang with Tuan and Bastien? Did they just get better pit stops than you, or were they just a little bit faster at Ross pace?
Yeah, I really have no idea because they gained like 2-3 seconds each. Either of them gained 2-3 seconds on me during their pit stops. Like I was right behind them as we stopped, and coming out of the pits, I was already way off their draft. And after that, they still had really good pace, but had I been a little bit closer, I think I could have got them if I put myself to it.
Woulda, shoulda, coulda, I guess.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about defending from Philippe there. He really put the pressure on. You know, we saw one point where you escaped a little bit and had a good gap, and we thought, you know, maybe what was that 5, 6, 7, 8 to go. We thought maybe you were going to pull away, but then Philippe caught up. Talk to us about defending and holding him from taking your podium spot for the last few laps. How was that?
Yeah, honestly, at this track, if you're in front, you can't get too nervous about someone trying to pass you because really it's completely on them to to make the pass. As long as you know what to defend, it's pretty much impossible that they'll get past unless
No
they
team
trick
orders
you
in
into a
play?
mistake or anything like that. No, not at all.
Awesome. Well, congratulations again. That's all I had for you.
Yeah, thank you, Will.
All right, and with that, I feel, and I fear actually, because I don't want this race to be over, but I think we're gonna have to put a bow on it. So Hugo, I think I'm gonna need the music to start sending us out. The Skip Barber 2K World Cup Series is organized by Philippe Lebert and, of course, broadcast here on iRacing Live and RaceSpot TV. We'd like to thank you for making us part of your evening. We hope that you had just as much fun as we did here at this Lime Rock Park. A couple of weeks' time, we'll be in Virginia, and we hope to see you there. So, for all of us here at RaceSpot TV and everyone that makes us this entirety of the production staff, including Hugo Louis, Will Fisher, and Jack Stiles for joining me, Cam Walsh, in the booth with you today. We wish you all a very good rest of your Sunday, and we hope to see you again soon. So for all of us, take care, and so long from Lime Rock Park.